Alright, I did something like this a while back. In the end, it worked out pretty decently, but I wasn't happy with how it started, and I figured out what should make it a lot easier. So we're going to do that today, and hopefully I'll be able to show you the steps of doing it in case you want to try it yourself, because it should be fairly easy to do. So I've got a piece of maple and a piece of walnut, just like I did before. And I have the double sticky tape here. We're going to fasten that down, and then we'll start drawing some lines on there, and I'll show you what I have set up to do that. Okay, I think I'm all set up, and I can show you what's going on here, how I lay the radiuses out here. I've got it set up so I'll be able to cut it with a fixture instead of freehand. So what I have here is this square is a little over 9 inches. This is a 9-inch diameter circle that we're going to have. So I want to have 7 individual pieces. I want the one on this side and the one on this side to be the same type of wood. So 7 of them. We'll start with a maple, we'll alternate, and we'll end up with a maple. And those pieces will be 1.29 inches away from this edge. I'll be using an 8-inch radius for the cut. So that's where I think it should work a lot better. I believe I had too tight of a radius on the first one. It was just harder to glue the ends. So I have this set up, a set of trams at 8 inches. But I also have these dividers set up at the 1.29. So from the end, I put a mark right there. Then I take the trams. One point is got a point on it, and the other one actually has a knife edge. Is how I used it at work, to go across the grain and leave a line. So I've got the little line right there. If I turn this around and put it on that same spot, then I can scribe a line here. I don't really want to scribe a line, so I have this dividers that I set up that will use a pencil. We'll go ahead and mark that on there so you can see it. I won't be using that pencil line, but just so you can see it. So there's that one. And we do the same thing. We come down here, and I have a mark there. And then we need to take the metal ones here. We'll put it in that location, and we'll scribe this. And I do want to scribe that, so I have a place for the point here to go into. And then what we'll do is we'll draw that. So I really didn't need to well, I do need to put that line on there. I still need to do this. I'll put that on. And that was just a pencil line. It's really close, but I'm going to rescribe it like so. And it's nice to get a line like that. Then I can see it for sure. Alright, I have all the lines. Let's verify that I have 7 segments like I wanted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So how do I set this up where I can cut these lines and not freehand it? This was on here just only to get these centers so I could put them lines on there. I have a series of holes right here. These holes are all spaced 1.29 inches apart. On my circle cutting jig, if I go to the 8-inch radius hole, set this over it, and rotate it, this hole will cut this one cuts, and so on. I have this on a straight edge because when I get over there, I'll need to adjust this so the blade touches. I'll secure this down And after that, I can just go from hole to hole and do our cuts. I sure think it's going to work. Of course, I have thought a lot of things were going to work, and I think it will. So I will go get all set up to do that. Alright, I'm over at the bandsaw. This is my circle cutting jig. I have it on 16, which is an 8-inch radius. I'll put that over there. I'm going to clamp it so it doesn't move while we're cutting. That's a 1/4 inch 12-tooth blade that I'm using. I've got it lined up now that each one of these holes should hit the lines that I've drawn. As long as they hit the first one, I don't really care what happens because the spacing is absolutely perfect on these holes. So I'll go ahead and start my dust collector and we'll cut these rings, see how it works out. And I mark these so that when they go back together, I don't get confused on what goes where, because when I get to these two, it's kind of hard to tell. Wow, that blade is wonderful. Cut like a dream. That is just perfect. Just out of curiosity, let's, excellent. You can see the joints go right back together. That larger radius really paid off. Now, this dark one will get glued right here. And it's the same fit, just perfect. I'm very, very happy. Okay, I got a few other things to do right now, and we'll get back on this and start gluing the pieces together. Alright, time to do some gluing. I thought I would set it up so you can see how it fits, the same plank, just like that. But when we alternate the different woods in there, it fits exactly the same. So we take every other one out of here. So we're taking the even numbers out, like so. And I have the walnut down here, so I need 2, I need 4, and I need 6. So there. Okay, I think it just fits perfect. I was really excited when I saw that first cut going. I could just tell it was cutting great. So let me get everything set up and we'll glue it together. Alright, time to get this glued together. You can see I could glue it just the way it is. It's got pretty much perfect joints. I wouldn't need to put veneer in it, but I'm actually going to put veneer in this, and once this is glued and recut, I'll explain exactly why I'm putting veneer in this one. So let's get this glued up, and once the glue is all set, we'll recut it, and then I'll explain why we're doing that. This glue up will be a little time consuming, so I'll end up speeding it up quite a bit just to get through it. And I'm doing that because I'll have to cut these pieces again and re-glue them. So you'll see a little more gluing later, but I will try to keep it from being boring. I'll go ahead and get the other blank glued up. I'll flatten both of the pieces. I'll get them stacked up the way I plan on recutting them, and I'll show you what's going on when we get to that point. So I'll just show you what we have going on here. This is the blank that I showed you the glue up on, and I said I would do this one. That's the other half. And these are the pieces that we got when everything was stacked together like this. And then I just took the maple and mixed it with the walnut from the other piece. So now I want to cut it again, but this time I want to go the opposite direction of that radius. I'm going to use the same 1.285 step over, and what's going to happen is I have those points like so, and I'll just show you with this one. That one comes over here, and that's where the blade has to start, has to finish here. And just so I can see it to get set up, I did it with a pencil like that. And I don't know if you can see all of them, but each one has that. That's just for a setup. I'm not going to necessarily use that line. This is the actual cutting fixture. These holes are exactly 1.285 spaced. A little straight edge here. I'll get this set up. That's going to be on the center, and I'll make sure that the bandsaw blade touches right at that pencil line, and then we'll cut. And I should be able to just keep shifting from hole to hole. So let's head over to the bandsaw and see if that works out. Right now I'm switching holes so I can cut the next ring, and I'll do that for each ring that I cut. The cutting process will be exactly like what I did on the first go around, so I plan on speeding this up. Once they're all cut, I'll meet you at the bench and I'll show you how they go together and what my plans are. Alright, it's cut. I'm pretty happy with how it worked out. So I'm going to explain what I was talking about, why I'm going to use another piece of veneer. The cut is not that much, but it's enough that these corners shift a little bit. When I put that veneer in there, it about lines it up. I figured that out by looking at my drawing on my CAD program and making a couple practice cuts. So I'll be doing that. And I don't want it to look just like this, or I wouldn't have cut it. So let me show you what that pattern is supposed to look like. 6, 4, and 2. And I just happen to have the pieces from the other side. 6, 4, and 2. Alright, check that out. See these diamonds that I got? I guess I'd call them diamonds. That's the pattern I'm looking for. I think it's going to look good when it's turned. I'm not going to make you watch all this glue up because you already saw what it looks like. You saw what it looks like with the veneer on it. Let me get this glued up. I'll probably glue the other one up, and we'll decide which one we want to actually turn. So here it is. It's all glued up. I'm ready to cut it into a circle. As a matter of fact, I'll have both of them cut into circles. So see if you can figure out which one I decide to use. I'll meet you at the lathe. I picked the blank. It's this one, but I wanted you to see what that looks like while it's spinning. So we're going to do this one. I want to talk about this one just a little bit. It'll be the same as the other one, but this surface here, you'll be gluing the underside to this surface. They need to be flat, like that. So I started with a flat. I turned this as flat as I could get it. Then I used my sanding stick to take care of the rest of it. What I like to do, because I know I'm going to be turning this area, is go ahead and take a little bit away from this area. That way, there's no chance of this rocking on here. You're going to get it sanded down, and I've left just a little bit there, so it worked good, just to get rid of that high spot. Okay, I'm going to mark it up. I'll be back. I'll tell you what angle we're cutting, and we'll cut. I can get 5 rings out of this, but I think I'll only do 4. I'll tell you that when we get there. Okay, I'm all set up. I've got the first ring marked here. I'm going to cut them on 40 degrees. That's right there. Lines up perfect with the slot on my ring cutting jig that I made. this will catch the rings as they get cut through. I'll be turning at about 600 RPM, and I can hear it when it's almost cut all the way through, and I just kind of hold the chisel and let it cut through on its own. That way you don't splinter the back of the wood. This is how it cut through there. There's no tear out at all. So the next ring, same size as what this is here. I'll mark there, and then we'll cut that. Last one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this glued together. I'm going to do it at my lathe because after it sits a while, I may put it in a chuck, put a flat board against it, and tighten it up. I don't know that I'm going to have to do that, but just in case. So once it got tacked up where I knew it wouldn't move, I put it on the chuck, put this board against it, and applied some pressure with the tailstock. I'm going to let that sit for maybe a half an hour or so, and then we'll put the last ring on. Alright, that is it. Last ring on that one, and I'm going to let it sit all night. I've got to go in and marinate some lamb chops for dinner. Alright, this has been glued up for 2 days. I had other things to take care of, but now it's time to go ahead and turn it. So when I look back on it, the cutting of this, the gluing it and cutting again, all of this takes a lot more time than turning a segmented bowl like this. But that's okay. It was fun doing all the rest of it. Got a 1/2 inch bowl gouge I just sharpened, and I think we're doing about 900 RPM. This is how it was glued up. It's actually running very true. Yeah, we just about got it cleaned up on that one pass. A little bit here. So this is the simpler glue up of the two. I'm doing them different because I just want to have them look different besides the different woods. So it will be interesting to see how the other one turns out. And again, I'm not going to show all the glue up on that one or the turning. Okay, I think one more pass and I can clean this up, and that'll just about be it. Now we're in a solid piece of wood. That's it. Not much to it. Should be pretty cool looking. Alright, I will get rid of these shavings and show you how fine they are. And then we'll do some sanding. Alright, time to do some sanding. This is pretty smooth right now, so I'll start with 100 grit. Have the lathe running forward at about 240. We'll get it sanded to 400, both front and the back. Alright, it is time for the finish. I sanded this to 400. I went over it with the gray Scotch-Brite, just like if I was sanding. And now I'm planning on using a finish that I've used it a lot, but not recently. And it's not ranch dressing, but it's Minwax water-based sanding sealer. And I usually go over that with polyacrylic at the end. I may not do that this time. People have asked if I only wipe it on. Actually, you can really do a good job with the lathe spinning, not real fast. Get some on there and do this. It really works good with the polyacrylic because it doesn't set up real fast. There you go. That actually works great. Okay, I'll do the back side. It's going to look just like that. I'll put a couple coats of this on there, and I think I'm going to leave it just the way it is. I probably will wax it, but I don't think I'll use the polyacrylic on it. So I'll be back when we're done with that. Well, I have them both done, and I'll show them to you a little bit, and then I want to put them on the turntable and I'll describe it in more detail. But there's the one you got to see all the cutting and gluing and turning on. And here's the underside. You can see I turned the recess away and just kind of made it look a little more decorative. And then here's the other one. How about that? It looks pretty cool. There's the underside. And I did the same thing here. I turned the evidence of a recess away. So I don't know. You can let me know after you watch them in the turntable. Which one of these do you like the best? This one or that one? I'm not sure myself, so I'll meet you at the turntable. This is the one that you saw most of all the work done to, but the process was the same on the other one. Both are made from walnut, maple, and black veneer. Both are finished with Minwax water-based sanding sealer. This one finished at 9.5 inches and it's 2 5/8 inches tall. I got 4 layers out of this one, and all the layers were cut at 40 degrees. Even though I cut them at 40 degrees, I still had enough stock to put a little shape on it, and you can see that up towards the rim here on the outside. I think I like this view the best. It just shows that diamond shape a lot better. Or maybe it's a school of fish trying to swim out of the bowl. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll call them diamond fish. I like it anyways, and I hope you do as well. Even though they both started out the same as a flat blank, they look a lot different than each other. And that's because of what I did here. And this one ended up 9 inches in diameter, and it's 3 1/4 inches tall. And that's because I used 5 layers on this, and it made it fairly thin, but not so thin I couldn't turn it. I used multiple angles on it as well. The first 2 rings were cut at 50 degrees. The next one was cut at 40 degrees, and then the last one in there is 50 degrees again. So you can see how it sort of steps down. I think you can see those steps pretty easily now, and I kind of like how that looks. And those little diamond shapes, it's like they were hanging onto the sidewall and they just started draining down into the bottom. I guess you can see all kinds of things in them. I know I do. I know this took a long time, and I hope it made sense to you, and I certainly hope you enjoyed the video. I sure would appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up and maybe share it around. And if you're not subscribed, that would be fantastic. And for all of you who are subscribed, thank you very much. So, till the next time, see you later.